I am leaving my wife tomorrow, and I couldn't be happier. The look on her face was just pure. I, 44M, and my wife, 44F, have been married for 10 years. We dated for 6 years before that, and I got a lot of pressure to get married from my parents, her parents, and something in my gut said that this wasn't right. I called it cold feet and did my best to ignore it, and we got married. Pretty much the moment the ink was dry on our marriage license, things went south. On our honeymoon, she did nothing but complain that I didn't book a nicer hotel. In the following months, she wanted a new apartment, a new car, gifts, jewelry, handbags. It was never enough. It's like the moment she got the ring, it stopped being about me and became about what I could give her. I am a doctor. I make good money, but not enough to support the kind of lifestyle she wants, though. We don't sleep with each other anymore, we don't laugh, we don't talk about anything but money. We have no kids. She said she wanted them before the marriage, but then changed her mind. Our home looks like a showroom. There is no warmth or joy or even comfort here. I hate it. I hate her. I am a 45-year-old physician, and I have barely enough savings to sustain us for 3 months. I want to retire someday. I want to enjoy my life. I rented a cool apartment across town in a less desirable neighborhood, and there's a stack of IKEA furniture waiting for me to set it up there. Next month, the lease is up on the Mercedes my wife pushed me to get, and I will be replacing it with a used Prius. I'm starting therapy next week too. I have a divorce attorney who has assured me that the prenup we signed before marriage means I won't have to pay alimony. I hope to leave the higher-paying job that my wife insisted I take for something with less hours, sometime in the next year. I am going to ask out the pretty barista who flirts with me every morning. I'm telling my wife first thing tomorrow. I am expecting her to cry and beg and demand we try therapy. I don't want any of that. This was never right, and I'm only sorry it took me so long to realize it. I'm sorry I've wasted so much of my life being married to a woman because I thought it was the right thing. I am so excited. Update. First of all, dang, I didn't expect the first post to blow up. I really was getting it off my chest and expected a few good luck comments and not much more. I know a lot of people were asking for an update, so here goes. Usually when I wake up, I go for a run or a bike ride. While I'm gone, my wife gets up, gets dressed, gets a smoothie going, whatever. This morning, I paced the kitchen, rehearsing what I had to tell her over and over again. And when she finally came down, I felt oddly calm. I wasn't expecting to be panicked exactly, but apprehensive at least. I told her I needed to speak to her. She gave me an uh-huh and didn't look up from the coffee machine. Then I just came out with it. I told her I was leaving and that I wanted a divorce. That we hadn't been happy in a long time, and I felt as though she didn't care about me or my emotional needs. Pretty much instantly, the gaslighting began. She cried that I never got her flowers anymore, that I don't do enough to support her, that I don't care if she's happy. I brought up the fact that I suggested therapy over a year ago, and she agreed, but then made excuses after excuse not to go. I brought up the time she completely ignored the budget we worked on. I told her how it made me feel when she dismissed me when I tried to tell her how I was feeling. The crying escalated then, along with begging for a chance to make this right, to go to therapy, that she would be better. It went like I thought it would go, and I felt absolutely nothing. I don't care anymore. Whatever I once felt for her is just dead and gone, and she might as well have been a second cousin sobbing about her marriage for all the connection I felt to it. Eventually, I just got fed up and walked out. She has been blowing up my phone with calls and text messages, which range from angry to begging to threatening. I started getting calls from her mother and mine too by the end of the day. I spoke briefly to my mother and calmly explained that I was sorry she didn't hear it from me, but my wife was sucking me dry financially and emotionally, and I couldn't do it anymore. She was surprisingly supportive. I'm currently in my new apartment. I unrolled the mattress in a box and went to Walmart for sheets. I ate Thai takeout for dinner at the kitchen counter and watched a bit of Netflix on my computer. I have everything I need for the next few days. My wife is getting served tomorrow. I keep expecting the sadness to set in, but it hasn't. I feel like 1,000 pounds have been lifted off my shoulders, and suddenly my future is full of possibilities. I'm going to travel. I'm going to try new restaurants. I'm going to take a job that actually makes me happy and proud instead of rich. Much to the internet's chagrin, I will ask out the barista too, because despite unpopular opinion, she is both age appropriate, it's her family's business, and I do have the interpersonal skills to recognize the difference between customer service and actual connection. Cheers, everyone. I'm going to have a beer and then take a walk around my new neighborhood. Edit. Alright, folks, I've gotten a lot of comments begging me not to ask out the barista, as it's her job to be nice to me. I didn't really get into the relationship I have with her because I didn't think it was relevant to the divorce, but here goes. I met her about a year ago. She is 30 years old. I don't usually wear a wedding ring because my job frequently requires me to scrub. She actually asked me out, invited me to a food truck festival in town a few months into knowing each other. Since then, we've had a bit of a running joke going where she asks me, "So, still married?" My current plan is to reply, "Not for long," and see what happens. I appreciate the internet's apprehension. In truth, I would probably say the same thing if I didn't know the backstory, but I promise I'm not a creep. Y'all, I am so happy for OP because he got rid of that leech sucking on his wallet. For real, the second she signed the marriage papers, she said, "Okay, it's time to be evil." Nah, girl, you need to love your man. He support your expensive lifestyle. And you said you want more. Give me more. Who are you, Sharpay from High School Musical? Get out of here. Inappropriate ass behavior. Girl, go away. I don't need you. Next story. Story number 2. Today I effed up telling my ex's wife that he cheated on me 20 years later. I was going to post this on Am I the A-hole, but I really don't think I am. And even if I was, I don't care. Through a strange twist of fate, I was at a wedding this weekend with my ex-boyfriend, Buzz, and his wife, Polly. For context, we dated 20 years ago. I was 21 when we broke up, and he was 26. We dated for 2 years. I was very close to his family during this time, but after the very sudden breakup, left without any explanation. This was before the era of social media. Hell, I think I might have had a Nokia I occasionally used when I remembered to buy minutes. So, we couldn't instantly get in touch with people, nor did we know what the heck was going on in everyone's lives. At the wedding, I see him and his entire family. I didn't realize that my friend was marrying into the family, different names, and really didn't talk to the groom much. It was a shock to everyone. I expected awkwardness at the reception, but his family was being cool to me, which was strange, but whatever. I'm not one to force myself onto someone if I'm not wanted. Important for later. Eventually, Polly is trashed and pulls me aside. She wants to thank me for leaving Buzz alone after our breakup. I'm thrown by the strange comment, but drunk people say strange things. I say, "Yeah, no problem." Then she continues to say, "He was heartbroken when you cheated, but I convinced him you were just a W word and to get over you." I laughed and said, "What are you talking about? He cheated on me because I chose studying for a final instead of going out and getting drunk." I left the reception without another word to anyone on his side of the family. I went over and kissed my friend goodbye, citing a migraine which I am prone to get. No drama. Now, family members who got my cell number from our mutual friend or found me on Facebook are messaging me like crazy. Rewind 20 years ago. When learned about the cheating the very next day from his BFF who hated me, I called Buzz for the truth, and he said, "I'm coming home now. We'll talk in a few. Don't do anything stupid." That told me all I needed to know. So I got my few items I kept at his place and left before he got there. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to force myself if I'm not wanted. Buzz didn't want me, otherwise he wouldn't have done that, so why bother with waiting for the freaking excuses? For months later, I refused to answer calls. When he came to my dorm, he was immediately denied admission and escorted out, as I had put him on a no-visitor list. He wasn't a student. Apparently, for these last 20 years, his family that loved me was told that I was a cheating woman, and his BFF who masterminded the whole cheating setup seconded Buzz's story. Now everyone is pissed at him for hurting me and lying to them for 20 years. They're trying to get the full story, but I just keep saying it's 20 years ago, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm good and Buzz is good. Some family have apologized for icing me out at the wedding and spreading the rumors. Polly, though, is freaking out. She's convinced that because he cheated on me, he'll cheat on her, and keeps calling me for more info. Our last conversation, I said that I was blocking her, and I have. She tried to call me from an app, though, a few times, but I'm just not picking up numbers I don't know at this point. TLDR, I saw an ex-boyfriend at a wedding and spilled the beans he cheated on me. Family is angry with him 20 years later. Edit. Attempting to recall a conversation I had over 20 years ago where I was shaking and about to vomit, all the while attempting to sound confident. It went something like, Me. Buzz, just tell me the truth. Did you cheat on me when you went out with your BFF? Buzz then sighed, and we all know what that sigh is. It's resignation and a last-ditch attempt to get your thoughts in order. It was the sigh that told me everything I needed to know. Then he said, I'm going to leave work now and we'll talk when I get home. Don't do anything stupid. I'll be right there. I love you. Additionally, 1, it is possible that Polly is who he cheated on me with. I don't know. I wish them the best, though. They've been together for at least 18 years. 2, Buzz was not under the impression I ever cheated. 3, I'd imagine that Buzz had to tell his family something since I disappeared so suddenly. I think he just tried to save face and his BFF was there to back up the lie. I do not know the full story of that conversation or who it was told to. 4, I have no idea what happened to the BFF. And 5, again, over 20 years ago. I'm more WTF than I am upset. I am sad, though, that his father, who I was close to, died believing that I did that. But other than that, I don't really care. Edit 2. Okay, you guys are putting forth some excellent questions that I'm not sure about. I unblocked Polly and reached out through text. I said that I'm sorry for blocking her, but 20 years ago, I was broken, and it hurts to relive that no matter how healed we are. I didn't appreciate being cornered at an already horribly awkward situation and called that, but I can call her after work later. Here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, on top of that, you had the grace not to speak ill of him for 20 freaking years. You are far better than I would have ever been. I would have sung it from the rooftops if people asked. Kudos on leaving him the way you did too. Brilliant. It was hard for a 21-year-old to not become vindictive, but my mother said it would drive him even more insane if I just never responded. 20 years later, I had to tell her that she was 100% correct. I didn't realize how well it would work. Update. So I called Polly a little bit over an hour ago, and it's very anticlimactic. I spoke to Polly, and she wanted to know dates that he was still chasing me. I told her what I could recall, and it seems that there were a few months gap between them meeting and his last attempt. I assured her that never once since social media became a thing did Buzz try to reach out to me. She said that about 6 to 7 years ago, she found out that Buzz had tried to find me on Facebook by stalking some of my old friends he knew, which added to her paranoia. They went to marriage counseling and all that, according to her. Polly was exceptionally talkative. Apparently, Buzz was a mess, went deep into alcohol, and even screwed around with heroin introduced to him by none other than his BFF, who OD'd a few years later after all this went down. Polly hated and was hated by the BFF, and when he tried to come between Polly and Buzz a bit into the relationship, Buzz saw BFF was a massive a-hole and went no contact with him. She said that she didn't mean to accost me at the wedding, but she's always been insecure about me. She was drunk and those first years of insecurity all came back to her. She said I was prettier than her. She saw pics that he had stashed away or in a family photo album. And she always felt deformed because of a repaired cleft palate. She is very pretty, and I reassured her. She said that the family was in disbelief over my very sudden abandonment, and a few times shortly into the relationship, his family would slip and call her by my name, or she would overhear them reminiscing about a family vacation I was on with them, or how good a few dishes were that I made. She also said that Buzz did confirm that he cheated, followed by a bunch of excuses. I said that I really didn't care to hear what he told her. I did say that I wish him no ill will, and I'm truly glad that he settled down and found happiness, but I'm done with this. I don't want to reconnect with any family members. I don't want her calling to commiserate with his wrongdoings. I just want to return to our very separate lives. She did ask how I found the strength to just leave like that. I told her that I had an amazing role model, my mother, a strong support system of family and friends, and we had no shared resources to divide, and I have a low tolerance of BS. Polly was quiet and said, "Thank you," and then she hung up. Of course, now I'm wondering if she's thinking Buzz is cheating on her, and that's why she asked me about strength. I blocked her again, so I'll never know. I do wish her all the best, but I'm going to return to my apathetic life. Thank you for your support, as well as some of your crazy comments. At least they gave me a giggle. I hope that every person knows their worth and has strength to do what they know has to be done. Here are some more relevant comments. User 2 said, "Have you ever relationshiped again, or did you give up after Buzz?" I'm single now, but I dated a few great guys after him, and some losers. When I broke up with my boyfriend after like 8 years, I decided to take a break from dating and honestly kinda loved being single. Story number 3. My husband, 38M, screamed at me, 41F, over Mother's Day. I got up this morning around 8 with my husband, and there was no mention of it being Mother's Day. That's fine. We carried on our morning exactly the same as any other weekend morning. I did the washing, made breakfast, and put a roast in the oven. My husband spent some of his morning looking for a car for our son, who is 17. His broke down a few days ago, and it isn't worth repairing. At around 1 p.m., I decided to go and dye my eyebrows, but as I was getting my stuff ready, my husband tells me I should go back downstairs and help our son get some quotes for insurance. His policy is a multi-car policy on my insurance, so I would need to do it for him. I explained that I was busy, but my husband shouted at me that I needed to go downstairs and help our son. I was so upset at this point that nobody had even mentioned Mother's Day, that I called them both a bunch of D words for being so inconsiderate. At that point, my husband went mental with me and screamed that I'm not his mother, so why would he do anything for me? He told me I was weird for even suggesting it, and that I was a weirdo for being ignored, that he wished his own mom a happy Mother's Day. He did in fact put a post on his Facebook page telling her she's the best for everything she does for him. That did irk me because since we've been together, it's me that does everything for him. I wasn't annoyed he wished her a happy Mother's Day. It sounds stupid, but I was upset that he tagged her. Whenever he puts a post about us, he never tags me, he just calls me the wife. I just feel that at every opportunity, his mom gets better treatment than me. Anyway, he then shouted that my son is old enough to do something for me without him being involved. I totally agree with this. I am upset with him too, and to stop making everything about me. I was so shocked to hear this that I said I wouldn't bother about his birthday tomorrow then. He screamed that was fine, he wasn't expecting anything anyway because I have nothing to give him. I've never felt so hurt and unappreciated with his comments. So, did I do something wrong here? I never expected a gift or anything of any value, but it would have made me feel appreciated if there had been some effort, or even just a kiss to say I'm a good mom. I intend to show him this post because he doesn't believe husbands should appreciate their partners on Mother's Day, so I'd like to hear others' views. Thanks. Update. In my original post, I talked about our son who is 17. After my husband had read your comments, he wanted me to let you know that he is not my son's dad, and just the stepdad. My husband has been in his life since he was 10 and has always treated him like a son, and has been there through many huge milestones. I didn't feel the need to put that he was the stepdad because I don't see him like that, and I didn't realize that's how he sees our son. He tells everyone he's ours. Apparently, it will make a difference to your opinions. I really apologize if I misled anyone. It wasn't my intention, I just really see him as his dad. Like I've said in the comments below, he has done stuff for Mother's Day previously, but this just feels like a final kick in the teeth. Second update. So I've shown him these comments which just infuriated him. He said I'm not a victim, so I should stop acting like one. I tried to calmly tell him how I felt, but he clearly didn't care and told me I can't be angry with him because my son doesn't care about me. At no point did I say I was angry, more so upset, and I definitely don't blame my son for getting on my husband. I honestly felt like I was about to have a breakdown. I can't understand how he repeats things back that didn't happen, then tells me I'm upsetting him over these things that didn't happen. I feel like I'm going crazy, and honestly, don't know what to do in the short term. He was spitting angry that I won't have bought him anything for his birthday, and I don't know why. Previous birthdays have been surprise trips to Rome or castle stays or the new Xbox, and it's not his birthday until tomorrow. Apparently, it's his birthday weekend, and I've spoiled it being a victim. I have driven off to get some perspective. He actually locked the door behind me. Update. Firstly, thank you all so much for the kind words, advice, and love you sent me on Sunday. I was overwhelmed with the response I received, so couldn't reply to all the comments. I thought you all deserved an update around what happened afterwards. Unfortunately, things got a bit worse on Sunday evening with some pretty nasty stuff being thrown my way. My husband told me the reason he was so resentful towards me was because he helped me financially for a few months after several things happened at once. We moved houses, I changed jobs, which meant a change in pay date for me and also a few weeks without a salary, which he knew about. It was planned for and he told me that he'd cover it. Then my car had a major breakdown, which he paid to have fixed. This is the first time that he's helped me financially, as we've always split everything 50-50. Basically, he's annoyed that he lost money that he will never get back. In our early days, I helped him when he didn't have much. I helped him set up his business, which is doing really well now, and I look after all of his accounts, wages, invoices, VAT returns, etc. without a wage. So him telling me he resented me for helping me really hurt, because I'm his wife and I've lost count how many hours I've also put into his business. When we talked about it yesterday, I told him his behavior towards me is unacceptable and I won't tolerate it anymore. I told him he can't resent me for helping me. It's his bloody job, just like it's mine to help him when I can. I told him he needs to get some professional help because his behavior isn't acceptable. I wondered for a long time if there's some undiagnosed condition. He agreed that he knows he needs some help and acknowledged he knows what he's done and said is wrong. So I've given him 1 week to find someone and book an appointment. If he does this, I'll support him to work through his past. He was emotionally abused by his stepdad, and hopefully we will have a stronger marriage. Or he will conveniently forget about what he's promised and continue being horrible to me. If he chooses this option, what he won't realize is that I won't argue with him about it or cry. I simply will be making a plan to leave. I'll give him a chance because I love him, but I won't waste my life on someone who doesn't want or respect me. As for his mother, her response to our fight was that it's my behavior that's a problem and he should go stay with her. That relationship for me is now dead. I'll be polite, but that's it. Thank you again for all your support. It really made me realize I have options.
So, I feel like OP's husband, I feel like he's a bit of a mama's boy or something like that. I just kind of got like some small vibes like that, but that doesn't really seem to be the case here because what really matters is the fact that he helped his wife and then he got resentful for it. Yeah, like money got involved and money can be like, painful and tricky and stuff like that, but she like helped him with his business and built him up to be big boss man. And she said, "Hey, my car freaking broke down. Can you help your wife out?" And he said, "Fine, I guess." Bro, what? This is goofy MF behavior, and I hope any psychiatrist recognizes and deletes it immediately. It is Mother's Day. Show her that you love her. It's just an opportunity to give your partner a little bit more love. Recognize Father's Day, people. Show that your hubby, that you love them. I don't know. Just freaking love people. Be considerate of other people's emotions. Go eat a bagel or something. I don't know. Next story.
Story number 4. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my siblings? I'm not sure how to format this other than just jumping right into it. I, F17, am the oldest of 3 living with my 2 siblings, F14 and M10, and our mother. Our father left when my brother was born, and afterwards we moved states closer to family for help. Since then, I've been helping my mom with raising my siblings the best I can. We've had family come over to help when I was busy and my mom was at work, but for the most part, it was just the 4 of us. When we moved, I was placed back in school as soon as I could be. I've always been more quiet than most, and living in a new state only made the social awkwardness worse. But eventually, I met another girl around my age, and we started to become good friends. The girl Alana and I started doing a lot together. It only took a couple years, if not less, to be considered like family. A little over 5 months ago, Alana and I started dating. We took it very slow and kept it to ourselves. Last month, we hit 5 months, and she convinced me to tell my mom. She was fine with the ex-boyfriends I've had, and based off of prior comments, seemed to support the LGBTQ+ community. Last Sunday, I decided to tell her. Alana spent the night because she wanted to be with me when I told my mom. So in the morning, we both sat her down with us at the dining room table. And when we told her, she freaked out. She said all sorts of angry things at us. My girlfriend and I tried to keep our cool, but the conversation was over and I was in tears, and she was clearly pissed. That was the only time I've ever swore at my mother. I left the house for a few hours. I needed to relax and calm down before making any hasty decisions. When I returned later, I opened the door to see my suitcase packed and sitting next to the couch. I took the hint, grabbed it, and left again. I've been staying with Alana since, but it's difficult because her parents don't know about us either, and they just know my mom and I got into an argument. This week, my phone's been blowing up with family members criticizing me for leaving my siblings and mom like that. I can only assume they've been giving one half of the story, but maybe I'm wrong. My mom hasn't called or messaged since. I feel sorry, but at the same time, I don't know if she understands how she hurt me. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole here?
Here are some relevant comments. One user asked, why did Alana convince you to tell your mom?
Alana wanted to start easing into who we told. Our friends knew, but that was them more finding out than being told. She wanted to tell her parents too, but because of the remarks my mom made before, which made it seem like she supported the community, Alana thought it'd be better to start with her. Now that I think about it, my mom didn't yell at Alana as much as she did me. I guess she's one of those, they're fine, just not related to me people or something. Also, seeing the number of comments I got about this, I guess I should have clarified better. Alana wanted to tell her parents too, but thought it would be easier to tell my mom first because she seemed like she would be more supportive. It's also easier to tell one parent before telling two. It wasn't so much convincing me to tell my mom, but the two of us to start coming out together, starting with my mom. Now we're both scared to tell anyone else.
Then other users asked, is it possible your mom was more upset about you sharing a bed than anything else?
Well, the lack of a platonic relationship doesn't imply a sexual one. We didn't say anything like that, just that we were now romantically involved. Another commenter also said that we probably should have told her first, and they are probably right. Hindsight is 2020. I've mentally blocked out a lot of what was said, truth be told. I'd love to give direct quotes for context, but I just can't. But I have to believe that if it was mentioned during the start of the argument that her issue was not us telling her, it wouldn't have ended up with me in tears and on someone else's couch. Update. In my last post, a lot of you sent some sweet comments my way. I appreciate all the support. Even some of the more controversial comments did provide some great insight. I did take a lot of those to heart and want to see if I can fix things. Firstly, I called my father. Our relationship is strained, being separated and not seeing each other often, but he's made it to some of my bigger events since the divorce. Double digits, sweet 16, mostly birthday stuff, but sometimes other things. He never wanted us to move away, just felt that he couldn't handle a third kid at the time. But I digress. I called him and it went to voicemail. I found myself crying into the phone as I relived the past 2 weeks, but I made sure to word it as, "Mom kicked me out because I have a girlfriend." He called back a few hours later and said he'd have to see what he can do and he will keep me updated, and asked me to do the same. Secondly, on Tuesday, I talked to Alana about us telling her parents. Between people saying I should get their support and those saying I shouldn't in fear of more backlash, it wasn't an easy choice. I was hoping worst case scenario my dad would be able to help, and in the best case, we'd have 3 adults rooting for us. She was hesitant, seeing how things went with my mom, but ultimately agreed. We sat her parents down, similarly to my mom. When I say we, I really mean she did most of the talking. I was still worried things would go wrong. She started off by simply explaining why I've been here over a week during class finals. We tried coming out to my mom, which created an argument and led to me getting kicked out. Then her father said he wished we had told him sooner, and "I'm sorry for failing you two, for making this feel like an unsafe place for you to be who you are." Then Alana's stepmom and dad talked for a few minutes before coming back with new rules. They wanted their couch back. If that meant dusting off the air matches from when we were kids or just getting some extra blankets, they really didn't care. We do us, so long as it isn't illegal and we don't get into trouble. But that said, since I was now under their roof in a slightly less temporary way, I'd have to start following the same rules Alana did. Curfew, grades, things like that, all of which I agreed to. Her parents are going to take us back to my house today. I want to give my mom another chance. I mean, I don't know how you can just walk away from someone after your entire life. I am either going to get the documents I need or my mom back. In the latter case, I still don't know if I'm going to go back to sleeping there quite yet. I'm still hurt. After talking to my sister, she understands and would rather me stay away if needed. My brother is a little confused, but says he just wants us all to be happy. Thank you all again for your overwhelming support and advice. Edit. This was something I wanted to clarify in this post if it wasn't limited to 3,000 characters after seeing people's reactions to the first post. She wanted the two of us to start coming out together. That's why she was with me when we first told my mom. My mom seemed supportive and her parents never really hinted one way or another until we told them. Telling one supportive person is easier than trying to tell 2 unknown people. Neither of us knew how it would go, so I don't fault her. She feels awful about it still, but I'm trying to reassure her that there was no way of knowing. Edit number 2. A lot of people asked about how did it go picking up my stuff. She wasn't even there. She was at work, but all the documents we needed were left on the table, so I guess that's that. Guessing my dad called ahead to make make sure everything was ready. Update post 2, 5 months later. Good evening, friends and enemies, all 209 of you who followed this account looking for an update. Lucky for you all, I was able to remember my password again. All the comments talking about legal action, well, none of those really got much input from me. It just seemed like so much at the time, and I knew the best way I could help my siblings was to be their escape when they needed me to, but also not to do anything to leave their residency as questionable as mine. Alana and I are still together and very happy. We should be hitting 11 months at the end of this month, by far the longest and most authentic relationship either of us have been in. It's had some rough moments with family drama and all, but frankly, I wouldn't trade it for the world. She even had me pitch in my thoughts when redecorating her room this summer, trying to make it feel more like our room, I guess. Her family has been incredibly sweet as well. I feel like I've been such an inconvenience, but they hardly seem to notice. Or at least try not to let me think I am. An aunt or grandparent's sibling here and there who don't agree with our lifestyle, but they don't get humored much by the rest of them. Heaven knows our biggest fighter is right by my side half the time. My dad's been trying to help the best he can. There's little he really can do after all, but he's trying. I don't know much he's talking to my mother in all of this, if at all, but I still appreciate his efforts.